Voidmage Gamer is now partnered with Flipside Gaming, so you can use the promo code on their website, all caps, Voidmage, to get 10% off all orders $10 or more. It's a great way that you can support both Flipside Gaming and Voidmage Gamer's channel. Hello guys, welcome back to another Top 10 Commander video. Going back to the guilds, we're going to do Gruul now, the top 10 best cards in Gruul, in my opinion of course. This is updated for Ravnica Allegiance, so anything after that is unknown to me. Gruul is a pretty underwhelming color pairing for me. It has some good cards, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem to do enough. But then again, Gruul has never really been my cup of tea. We're going to start it off here with the honorable mentions, and these are going to be more specific commander options if you want to go with them. Borborygmi, the Enraged, Ulash the Hate Seed could be pretty good commander options, but I feel like they're much better if you just want to go for that very specific deck build around them. Otherwise, you're rarely going to see them anywhere else. You might see Ulash in some token builds, but that's about it. And we have the new card, Nikia of the Old Ways. I really like getting my mana doubled. I really hate not being able to cast non-creature spells. That's kind of a deal breaker for me. And I feel like with Nikia, people are going to perceive her as the commander that's going to give you double mana. And that's never really good because then you're going to be a huge target. But really, to me, she's just boring in design of the card. Not really anything interesting that I want to do with her. So let's start it off here with number 10, and that is Mina Den. A little bit more tame. You're not getting double mana, but what you are getting is an additional land drop, and something that does actually fit well into other decks because it's not going to restrict your casting, and you are able to give a creature trample, so you do have some utility there outside of just being something that's going to provide you with an extra land drop, which I feel like really Mina Den is just going to be redundant for decks like Omnath, Locus of Rage, where you're going to get a whole bunch of land drops anyway. So that's really the whole reason why Mina Den is at number 10, because Gruul didn't have that much going for it, but the list is going to get a lot better. And then number 9, we have Rurik Far, the Unbowed. Kind of just a reputation of punishing control decks. Does have to attack each combat if able to. That's the trade-off with having a really good trigger. But it's a Vigilance, Reach 6/6. So it is going to put in some work in combat. It's not the easiest thing to deal with. But Rurik Far, let's just say he's not going to stay around on the table for a while. People really don't like having to take 6 damage. So if the goal of this card is to slow down the control decks, keep them from casting their cantrips, or trying to combo off, maybe you're going up against a Storm deck and they just need to cast cantrips over and over again, this is going to stop them really quickly. And the game is then going to become who can get rid of Rurik Far. So pretty low because I feel like he's not going to stay out there for a long time and put in a lot of work, but what he is going to do is stay out there long enough. Number 8, we actually have a pretty good commander option in Wart the Raid Mother. This gets style points for me. I really like it when you see a certain colored commander kind of go outside the rules of those colors, and fooling around with instants and sorceries in Gruul is something that you probably wouldn't thought was possible, or something you could abuse and copy. This is exactly what Wart wants to do. Something as simple as a Kodama's Reach, you're going to have Conspire with it, so you're going to get another Kodama's Reach. And it doesn't stop there. You could obviously go with burn spells, something like a Bane Fire, you could copy it again. It's pretty explosive. If people actually know what Wart the Raid Mother is capable of, she is going to be kind of like Rurik Far. She's not going to last that long. In terms of just pure power, she may just be the most powerful commander on this list. And next we have Clan Defiance. This is one of those X-costed spells that you could copy with Wart the Raid Mother. You're capable of dealing with a flying creature, a creature without flying, and you could just burn someone in the face. Within these colors, you could play a bunch of burn spells in red. This does give you the option of getting rid of 2 problematic creatures, one with flying, of course, and one without it. And you can also just straight up burn somebody. All 3 pretty good. You could choose all 3 if you wanted to. The problem with another card on this list is the fact that you are going to have legal targets in order for it to be cast. This, you don't have to have all 3 legal targets. You could just have an opponent you want to burn straight up, and you could still cast it, or you could just have a flying creature you want to get rid of and maybe just burn somebody. That's really where this card shines, is the versatility, and I think it's a very underplayed card for what it does. It's pretty good. And number 6, we have the newest card on this list, and that is Rhythm of the Wild. If you hated Fires of Yavimaya because it was basically Gruul Fervor, Rhythm of the Wild accomplished what that card was probably supposed to be, and it was supposed to be a Gruul Fervor that was more than just Fervor. In addition to this, your creatures spells can't be countered. So yeah, the same converted mana cost as those cards, but it actually does what you would want it to do for another color. So a great card. In Gruul, you're going to be playing a ton of creatures anyway. Now you can kind of see where the downside is with Rurik Far. You're going to have some pretty good non-creature spells of your own, and that's my way of justifying putting him lower on the list. Number 5, we have probably the most popular commander option in these colors, but I think he's just an all-star if you're in these colors and you want to play with lands. Omnath, Locus of Rage. If you're playing Lord Windgrace, or if you just want to threaten some burn damage, if you're capable of getting consistent land drops and you're in these colors, Omnath is pretty deadly. But of course, if you are going to play a commander deck built around him, you're going to be getting additional land drops with things like Mina Den, Exploration, or just your sorceries that are capable of giving you a ton of lands from your deck. And there are a whole bunch of them. At that point, all you really need is a sacrifice outlet, like an Ashnod's Altar or a Goblin Bombardment, and you pretty much have won the game. Another cool trick, if you're in the colors to do it, is to do something like a Rite of Replication, which most of the time is going to be capable of winning you the game on its own right there. All of those Omnaths are going to die to the legendary rule, and you're going to get a ton of Omnath triggers. Just a fantastic card, really fun to play with. And then we have number 4, which is one of my personal favorite planeswalkers in the format, Xenagos the Reveler. All of these abilities are super relevant, even the one that just gets you a Satyr token, because then that just contributes towards the plus where you can get mana equal to the number of creatures you have. But talk about a really good plus on a planeswalker. This is just insane. I honestly don't think there is a single plus that even comes close in the format. You are getting mana equal to the number of creatures you have. The plus is honestly what a minus or an alt should be. That is a ton of mana you're going to be working with, and there are no shortage of token decks that would love this card. Things like Prosh, Wart the Raid Mother. If you do happen to get to the alt, which shouldn't be too difficult, the plus is pretty good. You can get even more creatures, even more stuff from your deck. Just one of those auto-include planeswalkers if you're in these colors, in my opinion. I think it just fits in so well. All of the abilities are pretty good. You don't always see this with planeswalkers. There's usually some trade-off. Their plus is pretty weak, their minus is okay, and their alt is really good. I just think if you have it, why not just play it? Pretty good card. And then we have number 3, which is Hull Breach. The worst thing about this card is that it's a sorcery. Other than that, it's fantastic. If this was instant speed, this would see even more play. There is another card we're going to talk about here in a minute that is restricted, and you have to have legal targets in order to cast it. This is not restricted. You don't need an artifact and an enchantment. You could just destroy an artifact if that's all that's available. The 2-for-1s are just the thing in Commander. You want to get the most out of every spell you're casting because you have 3 opponents. Getting a 2-for-1 that is only going to cost you 2 mana is pretty spectacular. And if I'm in Gruul colors, I'm most of the time going to play this card. If I'm only in Gruul colors, I definitely am. It's a great card for control. It's a great card because you are dealing with 2 permanent types that you're more likely going to see in this format than really anywhere else. Non-creature, non-land removal, you just have to play it in this format, and Hull Breach is spectacular because you do have 2 permanent types that you can deal with at the same time for just 2 mana. And then number 2, we have Xenagos, God of Revels. This card is just fantastic. Just like all the other gods, indestructible, becomes a creature if you have devotion, blah blah blah. We all know that. That makes them pretty good creatures automatically. But this one has one of the most disgusting triggers. At the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you have is going to get +X equal to its power, and that's until end of turn. It's going to gain haste. You're going to attack with it immediately. If the goal of your deck is to deal commander damage, you have an enabler. If you just want to deal a massive amount of damage, period, you have an enabler. You're playing Gruul colors, which means you're probably going to have a way to get trample or get a creature out there with trample. So basically doubling the power of a creature you control is going to give you a massive damage output, which could be a big problem for a lot of commander decks, because you could have a massive damage output, but you don't always have that with haste. This gives it haste. Problem solved. If you have to deal with a control deck, you have to deal with a ton of removal, let's say a ton of Wrath of Gods, something like that. You just keep recasting your commander, double its power, swing at somebody. This card is ridiculous. I've dealt commander damage so often with it. You can just come out of nowhere and just win games because it is a haste enabler, and a lot of people don't see it coming. And then number 1, we have what is, in my opinion, the best card in Gruul. My opinions have changed. They've changed over the years. My assessment of cards has changed as well. And Decimate, while it is restricted, that doesn't mean it's bad. Like Hull Breach, but instead of 2 things for 2 mana, you're getting rid of 4 things for 4 mana. The worst thing in the world is not having a legal target and not being able to cast it, it does have that massive downside, but considering that removal can change a game, if you're going up against someone, they're way ahead in the lead, you decimate at the right time, you're getting rid of 4 of their things. You can get rid of a land, artifact, enchantment, and a creature. Targeting removal is just so good in the format. Being able to deal with not just creatures, but enchantments and artifacts and lands, it's so valuable. And this card is really brutal. You could definitely set someone back with it, slow them down at least. Brilliant card. I love removal. I always try to play as much removal as I can possibly play without ruining my deck strategy. And Decimate is a card I usually try to play if I'm in Gruul colors. It's great. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this list. Let me know what you think about Gruul, your 10 favorite Gruul cards. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. Void here signing off. You guys have a wonderful day.